Hi guys, this is Allison from Allykatkreations. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you have yet to do so. And if you get anything from my work, I connect the dot, an epiphany, a mind moment, or explosion, a new author to read, a new book to explore. Please consider supporting my work at the bottom of this video. And you would like card holders, pyramids, and all the other artwork that I do, AllyKatzkreations211.com is my portfolio. It's where you can find all the artwork that I do. And if you're interested, please email me. That way I can help you out. Personal survival. We have effects of prayer, and this should be interesting coming from a religious point of view, but also spiritual. It's what you put your will and intention to. So let's see what they have to say. Prayer is defined as, quote, the mode of addressing a divine or sacred power in which there predominates the mood and intent of reverent entry. In this sense, it is a characteristic feature of the higher religions, and we might even say that Christianity or Mohammedanism, ritually viewed, is in its utmost essence a service of prayer, end quote. As we have pointed out elsewhere, the object of all religions is the worship of the divine, and the primary object of all worship is personal contact with and realization of the divine. But as there is a mechanism by which the whole manifested universe comes into physical expression, so is there a method or mechanism by which conscious contact is made between the human personality and those higher expressions of God toward which the heart aspires. Well, there are many avenues by which this contact is made, ranging from contemplation, meditation, silent aspiration, to the sudden despairing cry for help and protection in times of crisis. Nevertheless, the avenue most readily available to the average consciousness is prayer, as commonly understood. This does not mean that one must necessarily repeat certain stipulated words as set forth by another, for each heart can usually formulate its own words to express its own desires and needs. But as words both symbolize and embody definite ideas, when properly voiced, they can be used to produce specific effects. Pause. When I went to the medium, I forgot exactly how many months ago, via Zoom, by the way, I was like asking if there are certain modalities of people that I follow, should I be using what they're doing in terms of their work and their wording for things? And he basically said, no, you insert your own words, not taking away the idea or the expression of the intent given. But if things don't feel right or the words don't sound natural coming out of your mouth, then change them. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as the intent of what you're trying to pray for or put forth into action, into motion, into manifested reality is with your heart space, go for it. The allergies is out the charts. Better. Effective prayers. Effective prayers are not mere combinations of words carefully thought out by the intellect and arranged as a literary composition. Such prayers raise scarcely above the ceiling of the room in which they are uttered. To be effective, they must spring forth spontaneously and express the feelings and aspirations of the heart. The degree of their spirituality, sorry guys, my eyes are all over the place. I'm vibrating again very high, so I'm reading things like this. Determines the height to which they will rise in the heavenly realms. St. James emphasizes the need that the prayer be a fervent one when he truly said, quote, the effective fervent prayer of a righteous man available much in its working, end quote. Neither is prayer merely a supplication, a sending up of a plea, or a wish for something we desire to obtain. Constructive prayer is creative, and in order that it may be effective, it must be approached with a great warmth of desire, our realization is something lacking in our spiritual life and obtainment. Prayer enlarges our consciousness of the reality of truth for our own personal use, and our realization of our oneness with the great source must be expanded and go up to meet the fulfillment of our prayer. Our capacity to receive the answer must be great enough to allow it to come to us. In other words, we pray to be made great enough to receive and be worthy of that for which we ask. Reports from authorities in the spirit world confirm our statement that the mere repetition of words has little effect on the powers evoked. Repeating prayers by rote has little more effect than repeating the multiplication table. Prayer then is a constant projection of your spiritual being, heart and soul, a constant realization of your spiritual self. Absolutely 100% agree with that and align in my heart space with that. One great writer tells us about prayer as he received the message from spirit teachers. Quote, you must know that there are appointed guardians of prayer here, whose duty it is to analyze and sift prayers offered and sent up by those on earth and separate them into divisions and departments, to pass them on to be examined by others and dwelt with according to their merits and powers. Pause. The very first old lady medium, she was the cutest thing in the world. You want to take her home. She expressed to me there is no religion upstairs. But through our praying and through the religions that we created down here to have faith and learn and have experiences through, she said that things are divided up based on energy. So if you are a Christian and you're praying to Jesus or Yeshua, or you're a Muslim and you're praying to Muhammad, or you're of any other faith and you're praying to a energy, not necessarily a deity or a once human, it's energy. Your prayers are being divided up so that it can get tackled. And that kind of makes sense. Look how many, if everybody was of the same religion and the same thinking, your prayers would be answered, but it depends what you're praying for, and it depends on who's stepping in to give that energy some zaps, per se. So I find that very interesting. And if we go back to Urantia, there's a million jobs distributed throughout the universe, and I bet you there's a corpse of some sort of angel that helps deliver prayers and delivers the miracles or the actions or putting forth the timeline for somebody to help them reach it so that they can achieve what they've been praying for, or put somebody on their path that's going to walk in their life and change it. Prayer does not necessarily need to be a hymn or something out of a book. It can come right out of your heart space. And I really enjoy that aspect, because I'm not saying there's anything wrong with reading the Bible and praying from the Bible or whatever holy book that you resonate with. It's when it comes from a personal frequency and energy signature and you're speaking it out into the world, you're speaking your unique frequency out into the ether. If there's a storm or there's something, if it's in divine timing for those things to happen, They're going to happen to you no matter how much you pray, but it might not kill you. It might protect you when you pray. You're putting a barrier around you, depending if that's a protection prayer or not. People pray for husbands and wives, and I know I've prayed for somebody to walk into my life, and that person rang my doorbell. You know, and that's just like I dropped the expectation and I dropped the timing and when it was going to happen. I let it go. I let the universe do its thing, because that's what energy does. If we keep focusing and being obsessive, you know, for myself, world peace is something in harmony and rhythm that I want the world to be vibrating at. I changed my wording up, or I changed my intention up to see what today can I focus on. How do we get there? How do we create that? If I can focus in meditation on a part of the world that really needs some healing, that's where I'm going to send my healing so peace can occur. So it changes. It's not the same wording every day and going, okay. And I'm not doing that. I'm changing what I'm trying to want peace for, because it will help totality and humanity become rhythmic again and harmonious. And there's a million different types of prayers. I'm just giving some examples. But I really like how they said that and brought that forth. Quote, in order that this may be done perfectly, it is necessary that we study the vibrations of prayer, as your scientists study the vibrations of light and sound, and as they are able to analyze and classify and separate the rays of light. So we are able to deal with your prayers. And as there are light rays with which they are confessedly unable to deal, so many prayers present to us those deeper tones, which are beyond the range of our knowledge. These will pass on to those of higher grades to be dealt with in the greater wisdom. And do not think that these prayers are always found among the prayers of the wise. They are frequently found in the prayers of children, whose petitions and sighs are as carefully considered here as the prayers of nations. And what applies to prayer also may be applied to the exercise of the will in direction not so legitimate. Hate and impurity and greed and other sins of the spirit and mind take on here a solidity which is not seen or realized in your sphere. And these also are dealt with according to their merits. And alas, those who say that the angels cannot grieve know little of our love for our brethren still battling on earth. Could they see us dealing with some of these misusings of Father's great gift, they would probably love us more and exalt us less. This was just brought into my brain. As a little kid, I did not like my circumstances. I did not necessarily was happy with things in life. I didn't understand a bigger component of why things are happening to me, for me. I always played a victim as to being bullied, as to not empowering myself to put my foot down and say, F you, I could care less. And that happened earlier on in my life, but not as a kid, like a child. And I didn't necessarily denounce source out of my life. I just was a lot of people get to this place where your prayers you feel aren't being answered. But what you don't realize is the contract that you wrote with source, a lot of the time, there are things that you pray for that will never materialize for you because it's not meant to be what you wrote for your contract. You know, we all want that Lamborghini or the big mansion or, food. And it comes in different ways. To be rich is to be rich in your heart space, not to have materialized possessions that make everybody assume that you are well off. Why do you care if anybody thinks you're well off? What the hell importance does that hold? Unless it's to your ego. A lot of people pray for insignificant things. It's how you word things, and it's what intention you're throwing into it that counts. And a lot of people denounce that God exists because their prayers aren't answered, but maybe they are. It just takes a very long unfoldment for these things to happen. I know at a certain age, I said to myself, you know, at 36, if I don't have a kid by now and I'm not married, I'm not having a kid. My body cannot handle the stress of childbearing, especially when I get older. And finding somebody that will accept me for who I am. And I kept praying and praying and praying, and I kind of just let it go. And now I'm formulating a little family, and you know, I don't know how long that's going to last, but I'm riding the wave and it's fantastic. I'm just getting used to doing it all, the different roles. But I didn't give up on Source, understanding that we have a contract and we're bound by what our contract is. Yeah, you can navigate rewriting certain things, but you place certain catalysts in your life to happen to you, for you, for learning experiences. As much as I pray for a lot of people, I bubble a lot of people. I have people that, you know, go through surgeries, and I set a time aside in my prayers when I wake up and when I go to sleep. Like, I sit in silence and I bubble and I shield the people that I really truly feel need my energy to help them. And you know, those people may or may not feel it or see it or know about it, but I do it for a lot of people unselfishly. I don't want, you know, I don't even want to thank you. It's just what I do. But if they're not meant to be here, or they're meant to have this experience, any one of my prayers isn't going to heal them. They have to do the work on themselves. And some things are just written in your contract. You can't null and void. Some things you probably can. And I'm just talking from my own knowledge and experience with these things. Prayer is very powerful. It's just how you word your prayers, or your intentions, or your meditations. We'll see. The answer to the prayer is not given fully and effectively when the prayer is not directed in the right direction. For the projection of the will must be straight at the end desired, or the effect is weakened. When the prayer is weakened without faith, or is actuated by unworthy motives, it does not link up or harmonize with the wills of those whose duty it is to take care of prayers, and the end is not obtained. For a lot of us, this is, I keep saying it, the financial stuff that's going to supposedly come any day now, any moment now, and we've been waiting for the last 5 years, 4 years. Remember, you might be the one with the best intentions and with the purest heart to manifest. You want others to be okay to eat. How do you manifest that differently without someone aiding you in money financially? This is the biggest test being given right now, that a lot of people aren't seeing it as a test. They're seeing it as, well, I want to do the right thing, but I have to take care of myself first. Well, why don't you just put a vision board up, and whatever you want to do for humanity, why aren't you writing it down? Why aren't you putting it forward to people? This is the test. And you know, we all have prayed. I have prayed multiple times, and it took almost 2 years for me to move and manifest my move, because I was waiting on something outside of myself to help me do that move. Never came. I had to do all the work. If I took everybody's advice, oh, it's coming anytime now, it's coming anytime now, I'd be on the street. I wouldn't be here. I'm putting the work in every day to try to build my channel, to try to just sustain and be happy. I am happy, but at some point I need to eat, I need to pay the bills, I need to be able to do life. And it's not easy when you're struggling. I don't see it as a struggle anymore. I'm not a victim to that struggle. I work really hard every day. And I hope that whatever is supposed to come to my path, it will. But I don't need anything where the sounding of things sound greedy. And even if our intentions aren't for that and self-aggrandizement, there's a megaton of people who will tell you, no, that I want to help humanity. And maybe like out of a quarter of that, half of the people there are really truly intending for what they get and receive will go for others first. And then whatever is left will help self. There's a difference between, oh, I have to take care of myself first and my needs first, to I'm going to help everybody and whatever is left, I help myself. You should already be helping yourself first. And I think that's really where the test upstairs is nodding yes. This is where the test is and lies. And what are you putting in words to your prayers? How are you wording? Remember, words is spell casting. You're spell casting. And there is good energy and bad energy. So what are you attracting? Using the laws of attraction, what are you attracting to you? What are you putting out into your field to attract back the same frequency and energy? What wording are you using? Are you choosing to use low vibratory words, or are you choosing to go in your heart space and pick wording that meets your goal of what you want to obtain or whatever you're trying to protect? What words are you using? This is a big deal. So I want world peace. I want to have harmony come to the places that are warring and that have a lot of chaos going on right now. Hunger and all this stuff going on. I don't try to negate anything that I say by adding the negative stuff to it. It's just the places that are not in harmony, I want to harmonize it. However you want to word those things. And that's up to you personally, because it has to come from your heart. But it's up to your motives, your will, and your intention when you pray. Meditate. Walk amongst the earth and just think, what are you projecting into your field? Quote, we in spirit life pray for help whenever we want it. Let the object be what it may, but not if it is an evil object. In the later case, prayer certainly is undesirable, for it is the cause of attracting to you spirits which will aid you in accomplishing your purpose, perhaps, but they will only increase your unhappiness afterwards. If you have a strong willpower, you are tempting them. On the other hand, if you pray for a good object, you benefit the spirits whom you draw around you. It is good for them to help others, and in helping you, they help themselves. Thus, you see, prayer is a spiritual force which you can put into operation if you have willpower enough. End quote. Prayer is, therefore, not merely aspiration. It is something like advertising your wants. You should, of course, pray to God rather than to the spirits directly. He permits spirits to execute his decrees. We all live under his laws, and nothing can happen contrary to his laws. Whatever is done must be done by divine sanction, and to him our prayers should be addressed. By longing, we do not mean praying. Prayer is a more active form of longing. Prayer asks, and love grants. We are continually broadcasting out our most secret thoughts and desires. We are accountable for what we send out. Our desire does not die in our breasts, but it goes out as something we have launched to run straight ahead on its appointed course until the force of its projection is exhausted, or until it meets a more powerful or deflecting force. That is part of our responsibility to send out as far as human frailty will permit. Only wholesome impetus into the intricate cross currents of the world life. The formulation of a need into a thought, a petition, with the same submerging of self that comes with prayer to what is greater and higher than self, is a beneficent operation to the individual and is a definite projection onto the obstructive universe. It is a very good thing to teach children to pray. Prayer is an actuality and it gives them belief. The world has got along very well on belief in prayer, but the voicing of a desire or an emotion makes it concrete. It appears in your own mind, if nothing else. And maybe when you have formulated it, you found you did not want it. Or if you did, God helps those who help themselves. Prayer is the projection of your spiritual being, heart and soul. It is the conscious assembling of your highest self. Constructive prayer consists in the realization of not spiritual needs, but spiritual lacks. Raising our consciousness and realization of our oneness with the great creator or power is the channel through which our prayers are answered. Our thoughts and words go up as prayers, and not one but is answered for us or against us. Power is given to us by the Spirit to change our thoughts from those of negation to those of heaven. Words and thoughts of love, joy, peace, uplifting, and constructive thoughts and words have power and potency. They represent divine power and reality. Their opposites are merely an inversion of them, and therefore have no power of their own. These words of love, peace, order, harmony, beauty, and perfection are words that carry with them tremendous power to bring these attributes into our bodies, our lives, and our affairs. If we think such thoughts and speak such words aloud or inwardly to our soul, we become filled with the light and power of heaven. Prayer can attune you with great spirit forces, but it takes something else too. Real prayer is thought, word, high motive, endeavor. More things are wrought by prayer than this world dreams of. Therefore, let thy voice rise like a fountain for me night and day. For what are men better than sheep or goats, than nourish a blind life within the brain? If knowing God, they lift not hands of prayer for both themselves and those who call them friend. Prayer in action. Every sincere prayer, every spiritual aspiration, every constructive thought or emotion, every unselfish deed engenders a constructive vibration which ascends from the physical to the higher realm with which it affinitizes. There is immediately noted by the spiritual workers in the realm who do all they can to manifest the desired result or answer to the soul who sent forth the vibration. Think, of course, is more of less subject to the consciousness and karma of that individual soul. Each constructive aspiration and vibrations pierce the clouds of mentality and marasma overhanging humanity like skyrockets illuminating the night. And most important of all, they leave a trail of spiritual fire behind them, which becomes a channel of light through which the return currents from the unseen worlds can penetrate the overshadowing miasmic fog and reach humanity. In other words, such vibrations can rifts in the dark clouds through which beams of light from the spiritual sun can shine down upon mankind. Oh, this is amazing. So again, what is your vibratory state? What is your frequency you're outputting? It's very important that when you are in a state of wanting to have a prayer or putting something out into the universe, that you're clear-minded, you're high vibing, and even in the midst of a chaotic sense, you're praying for your life. There's a tornado, a hurricane, whatever have you scenario that is scary and nerve-wracking and frightening. Make sure that when you're putting that vibratory state out, it's not coming out of fear, it's coming out of love. And especially protecting self, it's coming out of the self-love that you have for yourself. That vibration carries a hell of a lot higher than you being scared of being killed or something bad happening to you. If you come out of a source of your own heart of love, and you're frequenting high, that prayer most likely will be heavily answered quicker than sitting in fear and shaking and rattling. When you clear your mind and you can be in a space of calm through the chaos and come into a humbled space, there's a lot of miracles that happen in that way. And I just want to put that out there because there have been many things happening in our world and many events that are not necessarily fun to watch or people experiencing those things. And when people say the miracles that have happened to them, they might have lost everything, but they didn't lose their lives. And if they didn't go into a place of complete clarity and love, their prayers most likely wouldn't have been answered right away. Perhaps, who knows? But it's always coming into the vibratory state of doing things in love and not out of fear. And that includes your words. Spiritual forces. Thus, amid the most terrible conditions of inharmony, crime, war, there are also manifesting tremendous forces of spiritual light, upliftment, and encouragement for those. There are vast and highly organized groups of advanced souls in most of the unseen realms, our higher selves or oversouls, who have dedicated their lives to the service of humanity under the direction of the Christ. These are ever-seeking avenues of contact with mankind, even more eagerly and persistently than are the evil forces, that through such avenues, they may pour their powers of love, inspiration, and constructive power and enlightenment for the help, guidance, and comfort of humanity during the days of tribulation. All such who have enlisted in the service of the Christ, together with the more advanced beings who stand close around the throne of God, have long watched and waited for this time to come. They know well that only as they can build a bridge of love, understanding, and service between themselves and humanity and inspire mankind to live a truly and earnestly helpful spiritual life, can both they and humanity hope to accomplish the work of the Lord Christ and thus shorten these days of tribulations. Spiritual helpers. These multitudes of advanced souls in the higher realms of the unseen worlds who have enlisted in the army of the Lord and unselfishly seek to help humanity together with the angelic host that surround the Christ as a great bodyguard of cosmic force as he prepares to descend into manifestation on earth, have more than once begged the Father for more time during which humanity may repent and be redeemed. So the day and adjustment has been pushed back time and time again. But alas, cosmic forces can be influenced or diverted only temporarily, as they move inevitably forward to their destined manifestation, unless they are neutralized by opposite vibrations of greater power. While there are many periods when similar astronomical, astrological, and astral influences have prevailed, yet just as one day differs from another, there is seemingly identical. So it is with the greater cycle of ages. The night is now far spent, and dawn draweth nigh. The new day is at hand. The day of change, the day of tribulation, which has not been seen since the beginning of time, no, nor shall be seen, shall be. It is the day of seeming disaster, but in reality, the day of cleansing and purifying. We're in those days right now, by the way. Hi. We're in those days. This general belief, varied and verified through the ages by experience, is explicitly explained by our cosmic soul science, which holds that every sound in the visible world awakens its corresponding sound in the invisible realms, quantum entanglement, and arouses to action some force or other on the occult side of nature. All these find an echo, even on the terrestrial plane, in the lives that swarm in the terrene atmosphere, thus prompting them to action. That's entanglement. Every sound in the visible world awakens corresponding sound in the invisible realms. Have you ever asked yourself, how are you connected to source? Where do your thoughts come from? I say this all the time. You seeing things, you feeling and having a knowing. Where does that actually physically, scientifically come from? It's quantum entanglement. It's just these things have yet to be experimented with in the physical world, and yet we're still we're shifting the cycle. The cycle is still we're in the in-between. Cycles are the things that no longer are going to resonate with us or be useful for us are dropping away slowly, because change takes time. And a lot of our scientists are doing very high advanced science and discoveries and theorizing and putting these theories to examination and experimentation. I go over that with the quantum AI and metaphysical ponderings episodes that I do. But if you think on just a plain scale, there's always something corresponding to yourself and something unseen. It's entanglement. And there's a million types of entanglement that you have, believe it or not, because you're composed of a million billions of particles and neutrinos and all kinds of little micro minis in our bodies that make us whole. So you're entangled to a lot. Just be aware of when you are in those states that everything is clear. That's why meditation, they tell you to clear your mind. Get the monkey mind out of the way. And for us humans, that is extremely difficult if we had a crazy day. And to center and bring ourselves to neutrality is extremely hard these days. Prayer service. The Universal Religious Fellowship has a daily prayer service, at which time the names of all those desiring special help, especially for their health, or while undergoing an operation, are relied and replayed to an invisible helper. When the author's mother was asked how such cases were handled in the invisible, her reply was, quote, the Christ force would find its way to the students requiring help, even without the names being given. The condition of those needing help calls for it. As we might say, automatically. The entire class is looked over and the bare spots discerned. She also said that when the prayers are said for her, they invoke forces of inspiring, joyous spiritual forces from their higher realms, all of which help her to progress, end quote. That such attention to the needs of our students produces beneficial results is evidenced by the fact that for more than 30 years, when students' need for help during operations is mentioned, no operation has been unsuccessful, and no post-operative infection or hemorrhage has developed. Often such cases are the miracle cases because they usually recover so rapidly that they are out of the hospital in half the usual time. Man offers himself to God. He stands before him as a canvas before the painter, or the marble before the sculptor. At the same time, he asks for his grace, exposes his needs and those of his brothers in suffering. The modest, the ignorant, the poor are more capable of this self-denial than the rich and the intellectual. When it possesses such characteristics, prayer may set in motion a strange phenomenon, the miracle. Spiritual prayers. Spiritually inspired prayers are practically dictated by high spiritual beings in the higher realms. They're not mere pleasant sounding pious words strung together for their literary effect, but are practically mantras whose repetition invokes force from particular hierarchies to produce special effects. The following examples given, the author will illustrate our meaning. They also embody the teachings we have given in the previous chapters, and also in a lot of their books. Invocation to the divine indweller. Come forth, O Lord of life and love and beauty. Thou who art my higher self, and yet are God, and manifest through this body of thine, that it may outpicture the radiant perfection, all that thou art within. Even so manifest through me, O Lord. Amen. I don't like using amen, by the way. Not my word. Invocation to the I am presence. O eternal being, thou loving I am presence, whose I am and whom I serve, thou art in me and I in thee. Thou art mine and I am thine. Thou art my eternal pattern. Make me more and more like thee. Amen. Healing invocation, O thou loving and helpful Master Jesus. And I pause here to say, use whatever energy, frequency, sound of an entity or an energy you would like to impart. Thou who gavest to thy disciplines power to heal the sick, we recognizing thee and realizing thy divine presence with us, ask thee to lay thy hands upon us in healing love, cleanse us from all our sins, and by the divine power of omnipotent life, and fill our bodies full to overflowing with life and love and immunity. Protecting invocation. O Christ, surround and fill me, and here mention the person, room, home, or other object you wish to have protected within the sevenfold flame of divine love and wisdom, that it may purify, illume, and guide me in all things. May its spiritual fire from a rampart of living flame around me and the ones or things mentioned above to protect us from all harm. May it radiate to every heart, consuming all evil and intensifying all good. In the name of the living Christ, we ask it. So right there and then, holy moly, amazing. Love this book because it speaks a lot about the things that I try to project and to instill in a lot of people, especially on prayer. I'm going to read one more chapter because why not? Prayers for the dead. We repeat here for emphasis what we have said on this subject in Realms of the Living Dead on page 49, which I've read that book, guys. Quote, prayers for the loved ones who have gone over, surround them with comforting, helpful, and protective thought forces, and they will also serve to call the invisible helpers to their needs, end quote. As prayer can thus reach the higher realms and bring to mankind the help of those over there, just so, on the other hand, can prayers, especially for our loved ones, reach them and have their specific effects. This two-way process is the base of offering prayers for the dead. Testimony from the spirit world says, quote, for those who have gone on into the perfect understanding, it is ever so good to pray. Why? Because the universe is one. You pray for us, we pray for you. You can be in a sense of our guardian angels as we are yours, end quote. From the most ancient times, prayers for the dead have been recognized as being beneficial to the departed souls. Wherever there is a belief in the continued existence of the personality of man through and after death, religion naturally concerns itself with the relations between the living and the dead. Ancestor worship. Prayers for the Prayers for the dead bring to mind the ancestor worship among the Chinese and Japanese and their Oriental peoples, where indirect communication with the departed is recognized as being made. They are thus kept informed of all the major events in the life of the family, and their aid is sought through prayer to them. Not only is this belief held by the Orientals from the earliest ages, but it is also found in nearly all other religions, which assume not only the soul is immortal and thus survives death, but the personal communication is possible. This doctrine has held in the early church fathers, varying in degree from St. Augustine's prayer for the rest of his mother soul to the extreme statement of Tertullian that the widow who does not pray for her dead husband has as good as divorced him. Egyptian beliefs, the doctrine of immorality and everlasting life, and the belief in the resurrection of a spiritual body are the brightest and most prominent features of the ancient Egyptian religion. The many religious texts found appealed mightily to all, from the highest to the lowest, for they are believed to give man power in the world beyond the grave and to enable him to gain everlasting life. Formula in Egyptian prayers. Petitions were addressed to God or gods of the community on behalf of the dead, and they contain petitions for the welfare of the departed in the world beyond the grave. Their realization as to the reality of a future existence was very definite, and they believed that the life hereafter was similar to that which they had led upon earth. The most important collection of these prayers and rituals is found in the Professor's Booge, the Book of the Dead. They can scarcely be called inspiring because they are nearly all concerned with the allaying of the fears of the departed and protecting them from the fears of the astral world. Catholic doctrine. According to the Catholic doctrine, as stated in the authoritative Catholic dictionary, prayers for the dead benefit the souls in purgatory. The souls in purgatory are aided by the suffrages of the faithful. They are benefited by the Mass, indulgences, and good works, such as prayers, fasting, alms, etc. The satisfactory indulgence of good works, which consists of remission of punishment due to sin, is transferred to the poor souls. It is reasonable to hold that God always applies the satisfactory merits of good works offered for the dead to the poor souls. To those souls for whom they are offered, it is held that the pains of purgatory are measured by years and days, and that each given soul was supposed to have to endure an amount of suffering in proportion to the guilt of its sins, and the prayers and penance of the living availed to shorten this penance time in purgatory. It is therefore possible that the Mass is sincerely said, in addition to the upward striving of the soul itself, may be said to pray itself out of purgatory in due time. In liturgies of various churches, I totally butchered that word, were lists of the names of the dead to be commemorated at the Eucharist from the days of St. Paul, who prayed for the rest of the soul of 1 Sephorius, 2 Timothy 1 through 16 to the present day. Mormon doctrine. The Mormon temples are not churches. They are religious centers for sacred ordinances, ritualistic courses of study done by living Mormons for the benefit of deceased relatives and friends. Through these ordinances, those in the spirit world are brought nearer to the divine perfection prepared for eternity. Anglicans disagree. The Church of England believed at one time that the prayers for the dead were of no avail, since according to their church association, the believer inherits everlasting life and needs no such prayers, whilst the unbeliever's lot is everlasting condemnation, a destiny which no prayers after death can alter. However, the Church Times apparently does not agree, probably in the light of the modern research and enlightenment. In one of its recent issues, it printed an article containing the words, "God must surely design that our life after death shall be in a state in which our spirits can mature. The life which the departed live is a state of purification and process. Reflections such as these constrain us to appreciate the naturalness of remembering the departed in our prayers." Wow. Purgatory. According to the Roman Catholic faith, purgatory is a state of suffering after death, in which the souls of those who die in venial sin, those who still owe some debt of temporal punishment for mortal sin, are rendered fit to enter heaven. Since the mere incident of leaving the physical plane does not change the character of the personality of a man, he carries with him the quality of the vibrations of his mind and desires, and he is thus surrounded by the conditions which he generated on earth. If these were of the earthy, they naturally hold the person in close mental and magnetic touch with the earth. These material vibrations naturally weigh him down with their materiality and prevent him from rising to the higher realms above. He therefore remains earthbound until those lower vibrations have been eliminated by the process of transmutation and spiritualization. This process is called purgation. And the state in which it takes place is called purgatory. This process of redemption is a very real condition, and many last for years, according to the efforts made by the soul to reach higher levels. Since we have described the low conditions of purgatory in the same detail in realms of the living dead, we'll refer to them here only as follows. I have seen in the lower spheres of darkness clusters of societies and cities of moral degradation, in the streets of which undeveloped spirits were engaged in disruptions, quarrels, enmities of pitiful ravagings. They're delighted to annoy and torture each other, delighted to live in a measure their earthly lives over again, and to influence gamblers in their dens, inebriates in their wretched retreats and debaucheries in their haunts of crime. These scenes make angels weep, and I mention them with sadness. And yet the same God is over all, the same influx of life sustains all, and there is hope for all in the future. There's a very definite reality in hell and purgatory, not precisely as the theologians have it, perhaps, but a reality. But no one comes to the perfect understanding without the necessity of a time of readjustment and of wishing he had done differently. And again, the same spiritual teacher has said, take the person who has fostered or allowed himself a gradual growth or accumulation of pity, griefs, envies, angers, and unkindly judgments and intolerances toward his associates, amounting finally to a complex that actually makes a character. These are the negatives that must be eradicated in purgatory, if you want to call it that. Such a person must come to a complete understanding, a complete selflessness, complete love, and by his own effort. It is only the emotional things that really count. If people are big enough to live right emotionally, the concrete thing can be overridden because, and I want you all to get this, because nothing that happens to an individual is as important as what that individual thinks about it. This process of purgation may not invoke suffering unless the negative conditions generated are mostly sinful and grossly material. Otherwise, it may be just a period through which the soul passes while having its attention turned from things of the material life to those of the spiritual life. For instance, the loved ones often spend years in intimate contact with the lives and affairs of those left behind, as long as they are greatly concerned about them, with which concern prominently occupying their minds, they pay little attention to their progress in purgation. It is these whom our prayers especially help, since they turn the attention of such to no higher things. Therefore, do not think of the process of purgation as necessarily one of the intense sufferings, unless the departed cling desperately to the old ideas, habits, and desires of the earth life. If they have lived a good, temperate life, they may enjoy a happy existence over there for many years, surrounded by their relatives and friends. I agree with that. Hellfire. Modern research has abundantly shown that while the Christian Bible may not be historically accurate, the allegories and parables are universally true and are grouped and arranged to illustrate symbolically one feature of the growth of the soul. They serve to illustrate phases of experience through which every soul passes during its journey toward conscious union with divine. These arouse great controversy, and there is no doctrine that has aroused so much debate as that of hellfire. When this is mentioned in the Bible, it refers to the process of transmutation in which evil is transmuted into good. The fires are the fires of purification and transmutation, which consume all that is false or impure. These fires are those of karma that personality has lighted, and in which must stand until all is converted into good. That's why a lot of us are here. The soul will not be left in hell, but will gather to itself the experiences necessary to clothe itself in immortality. Hell endures forever and ever, simply because there is no end to eternity or evolution, and there will always be some dross to burn out and be purified and transmuted. Hell is separation from God, and the greater the separation, the greater the suffering. But let us repeat again for emphasis, while we all have to pass through the stage of purgation necessary for our advance into higher realms, we do not all have to pass through a purgatory of intense suffering or through the hell's fire. Only the extremely wicked and unrepentant, whose vibrations automatically affinitize them with those conditions, must do so. Thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thy Holy One to see corruption. Psalms. And so, as we have said elsewhere, when we pass to another plane, we are surrounded and conditioned by the thought forms we have accumulated on the earth plane. Those who have believed in and thought much about hellfire after death, especially those who have greatly feared it, often suffer much from such thought forms of fire. We were once present at a materializing seance in which a form materialized, completely surrounded by such thought forms of fire, which were so dense as to actually bring heat into the room. He was withering in pain, as if an actual cloud of flame. He appealed piously for help. When we explained that he was suffering only from his own thought creation magnified by fear, that he could be released by calling on Christ for help, he prayed fervently, and a ray of cool white light shot down and dissipated the cloud of fire. It is no wonder then that this stage of transition toward the higher realms is recognized by almost all religions. This is most eloquently expressed in Dante's Immortal the Inferno and Milton's Paradise Lost, although both of these great works stress largely the lowest depths of such conditions in the slums of the astral. Pause. Hi. Why I keep saying from the books that I have read, Reconstruction Reality, when you come into a place of love and you feed things love, unconditional love, not attachment love, you're raising your frequency. When I say detach from material, people, places, and things, it's because things are haunted. So if you go look on the Travel Channel or the paranormal channels that you see on YouTube or Rumble or wherever you find them and you watch, 90% of entities are attached to a location, a person, which they attach to, It works both ways. They're drawn to an object for a reason because they didn't attach in their lives. When we love someone so dearly and after their passing don't detach our emotions, not to say not to love them and not to remember them and not to honor them, but when you can't let go, that holds them here. And then they're going to start their chaos because they want to be cleared. We got to let go. We got to detach. We're all one. Our light will meet theirs again. Like I said with Morgan Cat, Ethan Cat, and all my parents, everybody that I lost, when my light energy meets theirs again, it might not be in form, it might be in light, and I will embrace them regardless. Again, we all will be together again in some form or fashion. This is only a goodbye. This is not a forever goodbye. So we need to understand why it is not the healthiest things to form very unhealthy attachments to people, places, and things. And that's not to say not to love them, not to show them love, not to embrace them, and not to honor them. It's when you're obsessive, you can't get it out of your head, and you get stuck. Your energy gets stuck. And then you get stuck to a place where you didn't want to be. And this happens in the dead, in the lower astral forms, because there's many dimensions and densities where your light can go. Just think about it. These are not easy things to do and dispel. This death is, like I said in one of the spiritual soul advices, death is something that is feared more than it is honored. More than it is honored that it's a transmutation of energy from a form to another form. Nothing, our physical vehicles die. This is just a suit we put on, clothes we put on. Our soul is immense. So take that into consideration and why there's so many paranormal shows and so many hauntings and so many people seeking stuff like that. And if you are a paranormal, I love the paranormal investigating. I watch those shows all the time. I think it's fascinating. But what I don't find fascinating is that people are not doing the right thing by not moving these spirits on. And some spirits will not move on. They will forever be here. But for a large chunk of things that are haunted, you should do every attempt to get them over into the light. They're stuck for a reason. And you just keep feeding the energy of negativity and out of fear, and it's feeding loosh. And not in the greatest of places. So we can do better as a society in the paranormal field too. Every energy always roams. It's always in flux. It's always flowing. Just, I don't know. I'm not for the aggrandizement of tortured souls who didn't know any better and did some heinous stuff, acting as if in their real lives and personal lives, and then they pass away suddenly or something happens to them, and then they're stuck here. Where's the empathy? Where's the sympathy? Where is the helping others and your other selves? Just a thought. Prayer for the dead. O thou great Almighty One, from whose heart all mankind has sprung, we pray that thou wilt forces the rays of the love, light, and life upon those loved ones of ours who have graduated from this school of earth life into thy higher school of the soul. Send to them, we pray, the hosts of thy angelic workers, that they may welcome, guide, and teach our loved ones the ways of the higher life. Teach them how to live in ever greater consciousness of thine all-encompassing love. Teach them how to realize, imbibe, and assimilate thy power that may transmute and be purged from all earth conditions that hold them back from their continued progress into ever higher realms of thy spirit world. Banish all fear and sorrow with the joy of a new and more spiritual life. Teach them how to purge themselves of all that might affinitize them to those unhappy souls who are still in the regions of darkness. Sorry, guys. Either on earth or in the afterlife, who would seek to drag them down to that level. Teach them to right the wrongs they have done on earth as much as possible. Teach them how to comfort and inspire those who have left behind, that they too may seek to press ever forward in the spiritual life under thy guidance. Thus may all in the two worlds be drawn closer to one another and to thee in the oneness of thy divine light, life, and love. And that ends it here. Next time we're going to touch on graduation. Many of us are graduating. Congratulations. I know yesterday in my town, the high school that's like around the corner and across the street from me, they had their prom. It was very exciting around here. The block that's across the street from me, like cars filled up to the brim. Everybody had cameras out. It was so nice to see that stuff. As I look back and I'm like, it's over 20 years now. I showed the girls my high school reunion video that my friends did. It's very interesting. They were like, what? So interesting. So these two sections are worded so craftily and so mindfully that I hope that you guys got something from that. And when you're praying and when you're meditating or whatever it is that you do to emote and project vibratory states into this world, that you do it out of a place of love You will it into power, into manifestation, and you really mean what you say, and it's not something for a reason that is unsound. You know, like we all want better things in life. We all strive and work really hard for them, and some things just don't materialize for you. That is because it wasn't meant for you. When you can remember what your mission here is and what your service is and what it is for you to do your job, things will come and things will get better. I know that now I'm manifesting the job. I said it last year. I want to work around the corner from my house, out of school. I'm in the middle of paperwork and going back and forth with emails, but I most likely will be working at the school I said I was going to be working at. It just took a year. And a lot of people were upset to know that I have to work a matrix job. Well, I'm sorry, I am not selling enough consistently to make income, to make my bills, to pay my food bill, to pay the highly increased property effing tax that they just killed me on here. You know, like when you budget, you know, I had to stick to a very strict budget moving in here. I had to buy furniture. I had to put it together myself. I had to do things myself to save money. Everybody thinks, oh, like you have all this money, Allison. No, money goes out quicker than it comes in my life. That's always been the case, right? Like unexpected things happen, then you have little reserve to pay for it. The bills have been exponentially going up here. And not to say if I was still in another spot, it would be way worse for me, you know. But things have been a little on the rough side, and I've been trying to find deals and just trying to get work and putting myself out there more. That's why I made a TikTok. I am now doing slowly but surely gonna figure out, you know, I'm a tech wizard in certain aspects, but not a tech wizard in others. So I'm still trying to figure out TikTok. I'm trying to reach a different type of audience. I know it's kind of hard because kids like to watch stupid shit. No offense. But I'm trying to reach out. I made my own business cards. I handed it out to the lady that was working the desk where my boyfriend had his surgery yesterday. I was like, go check out my website and go check me out. It is what it is. And unfortunately, I can only do so much where I'm at. And I'm working away, making new artwork. I made this Scully. All kinds of different gems. I think it's cool. I kind of leave the top empty so it has like an effect. You know, I'm making business card holders with different colors and gems. My other two solid ones are upstairs. You know, these I think I'm gonna string up. They go in the middle of the frames, but some people just want a different color. So I might make these into something. But yeah, I'm trying to be very creative and trying to get myself back on my feet. I've always been doing that. It's just I didn't write in an easy life for myself. And I have to push myself twice as hard to get results that other people get in a snap. So if you could support me, great. If you would like something, great. I love making things for people. I find it very rewarding and I can focus my energy into things. So let's hope I have an easier week. Putting it out there into the universe, I would like to have a very smooth working flow of a week. And with that, guys, sending each and every one of you love, light, protection, shielding, compassion, and grace, energy, Please be safe, be seen. I know the weather in certain parts of the United States has been astronomically horrific. This is the earth cleansing itself and purifying itself in some sick, mannerish way. There's a lot going on, so please make sure that you heed all your warnings. They were just testing the tornado siren over here today. Like, what the, oh yeah, they're testing. So make sure allergy season's here. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. I threw my back out the other day. I had a back spasm in my sleep, and then it amplified, and I did what I could while things are happening in my other life with the boyfriend. So yeah. All is well though. I got whatever was going on. I kind of helped itself. It's still sore, but keeping all of you in my prayers for all those people that I do send prayer bubbles out to. You might not know that I do this, but I have a laundry list of people that I send love and light and healing energy to. And I focus that healing on certain people where I know that they need healing in specific areas of their body. So I suggest you all start doing similar or whatever you're called to do. I think it's important. Be safe, be seen, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. And thank you for the support and the viewership. It means a lot to me and I appreciate it. Till the next time, guys. Bye for now.